our TLC is obviously looking at how we close the gap between the attainment of students who are labelled with this pupil premium label and those that are not. And it's quite interesting, just first of all, to reflect on what the pupil premium is. It's fairly recent. It's only been around for 4 years or so, less than that. And was just looked at to begin with to support students from low-income families. Okay, that was how it began. And funding comes into school for each of these students. As time went on, that became a little bit more defined. And 2013, 12 to 2013, it became attached to this idea of the free school meal. And you know, we'll see on things the Ever 6 label, which just means sometime in the last 6 years that student has been eligible for free school meals. And that's now enough to attract pupil premium. And that obviously is an easy way of assessing who's going to attract pupil premium and who's not. But interestingly, I didn't know that looked after children automatically come into pupil premium, and even there's a small part of pupil premium for students that come from forces families, which I had no idea about until I looked it up. And obviously that doesn't massively affect us here, but nationally that adds to the cohort quite significantly, you know, especially with the army personnel coming back from Germany and into our state schools much more. So that's where the funding comes from. Each school then receives that pupil premium money, but it's interesting just to say, right, okay, there's the criteria, how many of our children does it affect? So the amazing statistic is it's 20% of our intake. So if you think about that in a class, you know, assuming you have got the average class, and that might not be the case, but you're looking at 6 or so students being on pupil premium. So it's a really important cohort within the group, or UDG, within our school. And we need to just be absolutely clear about our focus on that group and come to terms with it, if you like. I think when it started, there was almost a little bit of resistance to say, well, you know, we try hard for all of our students, surely we should be doing it for all, but we do have a duty of care to look particularly at the pupil premium students. They're attracting the funding. The government is the one that's decided that they should have the extra attention. And the reasons for that become clear when we start to look nationally. So just under a year ago, there was, right under a year ago, there was an article in The Guardian, which I'll just give you, which just put the position quite succinctly for pupil premium students. See how good my estimating was. Thank you. Not bad, you might. Thank you. Pretty good estimate. I have to share, guys. Since you didn't come over, you have to share. But it's just interesting to just take a little read of that and look at what the position is across the country. Just take a moment. Sorry. quite interesting to just look at the picture nationally. It's clearly that throwing money at this problem and that's it is not enough. You know, the evidence is there for you. Interesting that Inner London had that success, but I think most of us are aware that there's a lot of initiatives in Inner London schools anyway, and it may be that it's a reflection of those initiatives, which may be independent of pupil premium funding, though that's not clear. But quite good that there's this acknowledgement that it will take time to make a difference. Within Felpham, we're very much, we asked about the gap here, it very much depends on the cohort. So if we looked 2 years ago, there was a large gap in the Year 11 statistics between the pupil premium and the rest of the cohort. But last year, that gap, we looked fantastic because that gap narrowed right down. I think it's again more to do with the cohort, perhaps, than where we've gone so far as a school. But clearly, one of the things that's obvious is that Ofsted are very interested in what we do with our pupil premium funding, because it is up to us as a school how we spend it. And I think, remember, we attract over £200,000 in pupil premium funding to school, and at the moment the vast majority of that money goes towards extra staffing. Okay, so about 140,000 is spent on extra staffing out of that money. I think it's clearly been difficult to have that money ring-fenced going back a few years where we had other restrictions on our budgeting. But as we've come out of that, now is really the time to look at, so what else should we be doing and what would be most effective. So there's an Ofsted paper which gives us some insight into what Ofsted say they would look at, but it does go on for some pages. Let's see, as you would expect. Oh, lovely. That's lovely then. Let's just see if we can find that. We've got no PDF on here. Never mind, never mind. I actually copied the pages on the back of your printout that you've got, which I thought were perhaps the most interesting, because this was their view on what happened in schools where pupil premium was well spent compared with what happened in schools, what were the typical characteristics of schools where pupil premium was perhaps less effectively spent. So there's a whole load of things you can read about there. But one of the things that caught our eye as a TLC, and that Marion Harrington stepped in and gave us access to, if you look at the fourth bullet point down, said that schools that were successful in achieving an improvement drew on research such as the Sutton Trust Toolkit and evidence from their own and others' experience to allocate funding. So we duly, as a TLC, have been looking at that Sutton Trust Toolkit. Okay. It was published in February last year, so again it's very recent, and what it does is it looks at a number of initiatives that been put in place in a wide range of schools and assesses their impact. Because obviously what we want to know is, right, with this money, what should we do that will have the best impact for the money? Okay, so this was a source of research for us. So there were loads and loads and loads of different things they looked at, some with more evidence than others, and they're quite upfront about that. Some of these things will say coming from limited evidence, and some of them coming from quite considerable evidence from a number of centres. So, I kind of wanted your opinion on that. So now is the bit where you can sit. Okay, so let's get a bit of maths in there somewhere. Okay, I would like you to have a little guesstimate of what Sutton Trust found out about some of these things. So I'm going to give you a little card, say, homework or feedback or, aspirational intervention or something, which you might want to discuss what on earth it means. But what I want to know is, where do you think on the graph it would go? High cost over this end, high impact up here. So if you were here, you would be really low cost, really high impact. That's the one we're going for then. Okay. And if we're down here, we're really high cost and really low impact, and no thank you very much. Okay, so that's what I want you to judge. So I'll give you a little card or two, and you can talk about this, okay, and see what you think. Share it with your neighbour. You can join us, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
So this is just a small selection of what Sutton Trust looks like.
It's expensive to begin with. I'm not sure how much impact it has.
So,
Yeah, it definitely won't last.
yeah, so, yeah, good investment.
I mean, if it was I guess,
Or possibly even
I get my
going
course
through and have done well at a particular subject. But I suppose it's also
I mean,
it's the difference in years and importance as well.
Again, out of the cohort we had doing DV, I can tell you which ones keep the premiums. I don't know.
You've been looking at it.
Yeah, as a round activity, I think doing something like that. Then I think, I don't know whether that's more of them becoming a better person.
Yeah, I don't imagine
rather
it
than
down
their learning
ability there. The low does also
When you're confident, or you're settled at least, can I put yours where you think it would go on the graph? You'll have to go over here now. And then we'll just, if we stay over here, we can all have a look at what the graph becomes like. Okay? So when you're ready, go for it.
so at that point, it does sort of these crossover.
Okay, high impact. Cost. Hang around once you've done it. Yeah, we'll just look at it. So do you want to put that one on as a teaching assistant? That's quite a controversial one. Sorry.
So is that high?
So high cost over there, yeah. And then impact, low impact, it'll be near that end. At least it's a bit difficult when it's upside down, isn't it?
That's high cost, low impact. Yep.
Anybody want to be controversial and just add teaching assistants? Oh. Ooh.
Would you disagree with
Well, does anybody want to move any of the ones that have already been put down? Does anybody want to have a little think about that? Oh dear. All right. Coughing, I was
Quality of marking.
Low cost, low impact. Okay. Interesting.
Sorry.
Ah. So, do you think
That's not that expensive.
Do you think that's an learning, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not expensive.
Somewhere up here. We did flaps.
What's repeating a year?
so? Send your student back to redo a year, you know.
Do we do that though?
Well,
Other
across the country,
Other
though.
codes. Oh, I see.
That was the impact.
Yeah, I was going to say sixth form it can happen.
Yes,
Yeah,
it can.
true.
Yeah. Okay, right. Do you want to compare with the truth now? Well, the truth according to Sutton, I don't know. Probably not to lose opinion. So I'll put the graph up in its correct. If we look at it one by one so we can actually see what we did. So aspiration interventions, they did have very limited evidence for this, but they said very low or no impact for moderate cost.
Really?
So, yeah. What? Yeah, yeah. Okay. Behaviour interventions. Okay. Moderate impact for very high cost. Yeah, pretty good. Right, collaborative learning. Moderate impact for very low cost. Based on extensive evidence, it says.
Yeah.
Okay. As ever, it depends what you mean by collaborative learning, doesn't it? And you know, if you want to get hold of this document, I can certainly send you, because each one of these titles then has a whole page about where they got their evidence from and what it really meant to them. So we're kind of guessing here. Right, feedback. No, there's not a link on that one, but I can certainly email it, it's not a problem. Or we can put it somewhere. Yeah, yeah. Feedback, what did we do with that one?
High impact.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So just shows Michelle Kelly. Yeah, that's brilliant. Okay, homework. Controversial one. Okay, homework according to Sutton Trust based on moderate evidence was moderate impact for very low or no cost.
That's why we haven't.
But we thought, we sort of linked, we linked it with the
Yeah, she linked it with the feedback.
Yes,
that's why
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, mentoring, interesting one, isn't it? Low impact for moderate cost, according to Sutton, you know. One-to-one tuition, moderate impact for high cost. Outdoor adventure learning, I like the sound of that, moderate impact for moderate cost. Yeah, it's quite difficult because that could be very expensive, couldn't it? You know, depends what kind of establishment you've got. Peer tutoring, high impact for low cost. Yeah? Super, spot on. Repeating a year. Right, repeating a year is the exception. Negative impact for high cost. So it actually belongs below that axis, which is really interesting. Really interesting. It's possibly why we don't do it lower down the school.
Well, I mean, that's interesting as well, because in other countries, like I know in fact in Germany, in particular, they've had a very high suicide rate amongst young students because of the fact that they've been put back a year. And so now that they're just starting to address that.
It's really interesting, isn't it? So as a motivator, you know, what a surprise. But
or as used in the same form we have used it to good effect with students who need a year to mature.
But that's very definitely with their collaboration, isn't it? That's an agreement with
them.
Yeah,
they do generally volunteer for it.
And you would have to think about the number that we lose, who, you know, we might insist in that, and then the picture would be quite different, wouldn't it? Social and emotional learning, according to Sutton, is moderate impact at very low cost. That's quite difficult, isn't it? Because that could be many, many things and could be quite different. And then a really controversial one, I think, teaching assistant. They have judged on limited evidence, it has to be said, as low impact for high cost. Okay. So, it is really controversial, you know, you'd have to look in a lot of detail, yes, at the case studies to know whether it's relevant. But for us, it's then taking that information and then our TLCs really said, well, is that true at FCC, you know, do we really think that? In which case, if it is, then we can action it. So we've chosen to just do a little bit on various topics. So if I just show you that, So, obviously what we did was look at things that interested us as individuals, which would be sensible, and that we could tackle in a contained way without making massive new projects, but just looking at what we were doing. So the things that we've been looking